guys, welcome back to my channel. For this video, I will be doing something I've been wanting to do for nearly 13 years now, and I'm so glad I was finally given the opportunity. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge fan of actor and musician Atticus Mitchell, and I have been since 2011. He was in the Canadian franchise My Babysitter is a Vampire, and he played Benny Weir in both the movie and the show. He's been in several shows and movies since then, but most recently, he played J.B. Cox in Hulu's adaptation of The Hardy Boys, which released its third and final season back in July. Atticus and I have been mutuals on Instagram for about a year now, and recently I sent him a message asking if he'd be willing to do a Zoom interview with me, and to my delight, he said yes. I asked him about what he's been up to and if he has anything lined up for 2024, and this is what he had to say. Anything you're looking forward to for this year?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot. I mean, not to sound sappy or anything, but top of the list is really just this is a big year of flux for a lot of people in my industry. We're all coming off of a big strike, so everybody just like wants to get things going and they want to get things made, and everybody there's a permeating excitement that's run through all of my social circles. And so I'm looking forward to just like seeing friends and cooking things up and working on potentially interesting, exciting things and seeing more of the world. Just kind of, my life has essentially been for the past like 4 years, like COVID included, just kind of a massive who the hell knows what's going on. And I've gotten used to it, but it would be nice to have like a semblance of normalcy and consistency back in my life. But the excitement and unknown is fun, and so I'm looking forward to maybe a good combination of both this year.
So you're talking about like other projects. Are there any that you can talk about at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing on the docket that's like, this was cooking for the entire of last year, but I wasn't able to talk about it. Like
Mm.
there's just been I've been lucky enough to work on things while there's still been, a pretty gaping hole of opportunity for a lot of people.
Mm.
Um but just in terms of things that were like filmed, they're coming out. There's a new Law and Order series that's set in Toronto that's coming out. It's called Law and Order Toronto Criminal Intent.
Nice.
And I got to go on that for a bit, and that was very sweet. In the midst of a year where, yeah, like nothing was really going on for anybody. In 2023, that was like a nice sudden
Mm.
yay. Well, at least there's like this little bit of work, and thankfully, like okay, like we all kind of stood in solidarity. My union wasn't striking, so I was
Mm.
allowed to work. I wasn't scabbing. I would never. I live for unions. They're my favorite thing in the whole wide world. But that was still a nice little opportunity and a thing to do, which will come out this year.
Mhm.
And other than that, there's actually just been everybody's kind of been put in the same position of not being forced, but essentially having the door open where we had the time to really start our own projects. We had the time to
Mm.
work on stuff that
Yeah.
maybe we've never really tried before. So
Yeah.
me and my friend Adam and my friend Kai, we've all gotten together and we're halfway through writing a feature film script that we are pretty passionate about. So
Oh.
it's my first time dipping a toe into any sort of writing capacity because I don't think I'm very good at it, but it's still fun. We're trying because why the hell not? And that's what's up. Otherwise, it's just
That
looking forward.
that sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, it should
I
be fun.
love the Law and Order franchise. Law and Order Thursdays is back on NBC as of
Mhm.
last week with like the original SVU and organized crime.
Whatever the
Oh
other
my
one is.
God, it was organized crime.
There you go.
Yeah, I had to think for a second.
I didn't even know there were so many. Like there
There's
was I
so
forget
many.
who
There
asked
are
me
so
on
many in
the
the US. Uh,
yeah.
And kind of speaking of, do you know if this one will ever air in the US or is this
I
solely
think I
Canadian
think it
based?
will. I'm pretty sure it will. I think it's just going to be like part of the group. It's definitely primarily a Canadian production. Like it's a big
Yeah.
thing happening here. It's
Mhm.
already it's like okay, here's like our brand new easy 10 season show that's like solidifying itself in Toronto that will
Mhm.
just like offer a whole bunch of opportunities for Canadian
Mhm.
actors to be a part of, which is great. It's a big thing of like kind of what Canada's lacking. Like we put out really good content, but we just don't put out enough of it. So this is a very good like stepping tone in the right direction, I think.
Yeah.
But I've also never seen a single Law and Order episode ever. So
Well,
at any
hey,
time, like there were people excited on the set when they were talking about it, but at the same time, they were just like, "Hey, what are you excited to be on the show?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course, I love working." And they're like, "Yeah, but it's Law and Order." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that doesn't mean
I've
anything
never
to me,
seen
really."
any of.
You know, I was like a CSI guy. I watched CSI when I was growing up.
Okay.
I was the other side. And as soon as I'd say that to people on the set, they'd boom me and they'd be like, "You peasant! Like you don't know what the hell you're talking about." I'm excited. I'm excited for you to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. They got a good cast. They got a good little group over there. It's
Mhm.
very exciting.
As you said, with the strikes and everything, were any of your projects postponed because of them?
So like kind of, it's honestly even hard to tell like what's been postponed and what's just been like moved around these days. Like there are a million different things that will like you'll be attached to or whatever that will then be like, oh, we're trying to work around the strike and maybe we couldn't film in like the place that we thought we could anymore, and we couldn't get this person anymore because they were SAG versus ACTRA is the Canadian union.
Mm.
And so instead of like things being postponed, they can go from that to just like shifted or delayed indefinitely. And so there's been nothing really like huge or major that I was really looking forward to doing last year. But
Okay.
were there things that like, you've got on the books with like whoever through the industry coming up, showrunners, directors who are like, oh, we should do this together. I'm developing this, blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, there's been tons of those, but with COVID plus the strike, everybody's just kind of like waiting for the green light to actually push their
Mhm.
stuff forward. So yeah, like there are a couple things that I can't talk about per se, which is unfortunate, because the secrecy around certain projects are
It is what it is.
it is what it is, and it's very annoying, I know. But yes, there are a couple things that I guess could have technically gone last year that didn't. I don't think they still would have gone if the strike wasn't happening. But regardless, we're hoping for this year to like get a couple things off the ground.
Speaking of just kind of like the waiting game and whatnot, what do you usually do between projects? What do you like to do the most between projects?
I mean, well, I make music. That's like a nice, very, very good secondary outlet to pour any sort of like creative inspiration into. And has proved very like helpful mentally, emotionally, spiritually,
Mhm.
in the past, like I guess like I started six years ago, maybe I started actually taking it seriously. um that's the main thing. It is also a thing that like, yeah, you can just have as like a hobby in the background, but every once in a while you
Mhm.
find yourself in like a proper
Yeah.
creative pocket where you're actually like creating things, and it's amazing. Like it's
Mhm.
second to none. Like you know what that feeling is like when you just
Yeah,
suddenly have
like
something you're
this.
very passionate about.
This.
Exactly. I live in Toronto, and my this is where I'm from. This is where my immediate family still all live, and I got a bunch of friends who live here. And so it's nice to have a good circle and always
Mhm.
people to see and spend time with. And I just put a lot of stock into that. I put a lot of stock into spending time with my loved ones and just enjoying the
That's
day
good.
by day. And
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's good.
I love the pictures of Scout every once in a
Howdy,
while that I see on your Instagram. Oh my gosh.
my husky
She's
terrier.
adorable.
Yeah, she's
She's
pretty great.
adorable.
She I mean literally just I think it was yesterday. She's had some, not to dampen the mood, but she's had some weird like health issues recently. And we
Oh.
just found out that we got some tests back, and she's got hypothyroidism, ISIS,
Ah.
hypothyroid, I whatever the medical term is for hypothyroid something. She's got that, so we got to put her on medication for like the rest of her life, which is kind of a bummer. But at the same time, depending on like what we saw was going with like her mood and everything, we feared the worst. We were like, this dog could have something like completely debilitating. It could have something potentially fatal soon, like who knows. And so thankfully we're catching this thing so early that it's
Mhm.
easily treatable. So the vet says anyway. But otherwise, she's great. I love that dog. She looks after my mom's bookstore very well. And
Yeah.
shout out
So
Scout.
you were saying earlier that you wanted to see like more of the world and whatnot. Tell me about your recent trip to Japan. Those pictures on Instagram looked awesome.
They're pretty sweet. Yeah, the that trip went on November 30th, stayed for roughly 2 weeks, I think just over 2 weeks. Went with again the same friend, Adam, who has been my closest friend for since we'd met each other many years ago.
Since
We had
Radio
always,
Rebel.
yeah, the Ray Rebel days. We had always essentially talked about so early on just the fact that that was both of our like top of the list travel destination. And we were lucky enough to essentially be he was gifted a pair of round trip flight tickets by I forget what the airline was, but it was like
Mm.
anywhere in the world to be used within a year. Because he and his cast won the SAG award for best drama ensemble in the White Lotus season
Oh
two.
yeah, that's right.
And
That's right. He was
and
in the White
exactly, and
Lotus.
there was just this nice gift given along with the winning the award. I didn't know that you could like win the award, and then on top of that, they'd give you like a free
I
trip
mean, it makes
anywhere in the
sense. It
world.
honestly does. It does make sense.
It was
I've heard of
crazy.
it, but unfortunately, I've never seen the White Lotus.
Yeah,
I'll have
it's good. It's a
to.
good show. You
I'll
should
have
watch it.
to. Did your brothers go too, or was it just you and the
No, it was just
boys?
us, and then we met another friend of ours, a very talented director named Jerome. He had been to Japan a couple times, and he was eager, so he linked up with us and served as our sort of guide. But it was the best. It lived up to just about every expectation I had of that country. We went to Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, a couple stops in there was a beachside village called Kamakura that we went to. There was a little town called Nara that's very popular. You go and you just get to hang out with these wild deer that just occupy the entire city and go wherever
Okay.
the heck they want, and they're great. It was a lovely time, but it was amazing. It was the most it's been the most withdrawal I've ever felt coming back
Mm.
from a place before. I just want to go back. I really want to live in Kyoto, especially. The sights were amazing. The culture is wonderful. The people are just so lovely and reserved and respectful and funny. Like everybody's got it. Everybody's got just the best sense of humor ever. It's kind of what I learned is that even with a language barrier, depending on where you go,
Oh
I think it's
yeah.
just essentially universal that if you are adept and can use physical comedy in a way that like people can understand regardless of what language you're using,
Mhm.
it's great and walls break down and everybody just has a great time. And the amount of times I would just laugh or make other people laugh, or we would all just laugh with complete strangers from the other side of the world was beautiful. It was just a really beautiful trip.
Circling back to like film industry stuff, what is your favorite project that you've been a part of?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, just from the outset, I don't think I have a base favorite I've ever been a part of because so many different things will just offer so many different experiences. It's
Hmm.
hard to compare them. Like I can look at something like Radio Rebel and go like, well, you could probably make that argument because I met my closest industry friend, you
Hmm.
know, when I was 17 years old. Um, and we've been inseparable ever since, and that's been so amazing and so rewarding and like wild every time I think about it because you know I didn't go to university like out of high school. I kind of just kept
Hmm.
working, and the the rabbit hole you go down sometimes of like whoever the friends you might have in your life, whoever your closest people are, like do you ever stop and think about how you know them, how you met them? If you didn't maybe go to a certain school or live in a certain area, you wouldn't actually have
Yes.
known these people. Like everything has to come together. So he and
Yes.
I live in opposite sides of Canada, both like come from around the same area, but have never known each other. We both have to book the same Disney Channel movie and then meet at the right time in the universe in our lives and work together and develop a friendship that would then like be one of the most important in my life that I've ever known. This the idea of like we both had to get the same job, which in our industry, like it's so hard to get jobs. It's so ridiculously insane, like the amount of people that will go for the same thing. And so the odds were just crazy. And every time I think about it, I just kind of get freaked out. But anyway,
Yeah,
that
that's
yeah, making the friends I did on that one was great. Something like there's the show Young Drunk Punk I did that was
mm,
one season in Calgary. I think it's the funniest project I've ever been a part of, and I still look back on it and lament the fact that we never got a season two. And that show has such legs. Like I still get stopped in Canada about people going like, "Hey, Young Drunk Punk, gee, that was a funny show." And I'm like, "Yeah, it was great. I love that show."
mm,
Met a lot of great friends on that as well. The odd like you look at some projects from an artistic standpoint, and there was a movie that finally it came out at TIFF, not 2023 TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, but
mhm,
2022, that we had shot over COVID in Sudbury, called Fixation, directed by a very talented director, Mercedes Bryce Morgan, and starring Genesis Rodriguez, Maddie Hassan, just like an incredible cast. And it was one that we shot in a bubble in like northern Ontario, completely detached from reality and the rest of the world, just in the middle of nowhere in a hotel that I was stuck in for a month and a half. And it was one of the most just like centered, you only have this one thing. The subject matter we were dealing with was very heavy, very intense,
yeah,
and but you just own it and you lived in it, and it was the most just like dedicated to one
mhm,
thing
mhm.
project I've been a part of, where we all just kind of went insane. I just went crazy. I would just make like I think I made a playlist that on days off I would just like my day just consisted of going downstairs to the main like lobby hall of the hotel and playing ping pong against myself. If my friend
Mhm.
Shane wasn't available, I would just hit it up against the wall. And I got really, really good at hitting against myself. And then I'd go and I'd sit in the shower for like 3 hours and 45 minutes listening to my
No,
playlist over and over again. It was so weird. It was so crazy. I watched
it,
a lot of movies and would just be absolutely smacked by them emotionally. Even though like I would watch like The Fox and the Hound, and I would just cry the entire,
I
and I would
love that
but
one. I
with
love
this,
that
it's so good.
movie.
And but even in that position I was in, I felt I went catatonic. I couldn't move. It was crazy. But do I look back on it with a complete sense of pride and like artistic accomplishment? Hell yeah. Oh my God. Those are the most fun, when you get to just absolutely lose yourself for a bit. So yeah, no favorite, but just way too many surreal, larger than life, better than you could have asked for experiences on
Yeah,
multiple different
yeah,
projects.
it sounds like it, but hey, I feel like it's a valid question.
Oh, for
I
sure. Oh
feel
my
like
God. No, I
sometimes,
wish I had an answer. It would be like way more fun if I was like, oh my God, yeah, this. Nothing's ever gonna top this that I did. But it would just be unfair to everything else.
yeah, no, yeah, no, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So my last question that I have is, what is your dream role?
That is another hard one to answer
Or
because
like a role that may not exist yet, or
yeah.
like, oh, if you had a favorite book, you're like, you know what, I think I
Mhm.
could play this character. Like, what would that be?
Yeah. After how long have I been doing this now? It's been like 15 years. Essentially, I've been like acting professionally, and taking on role after role, or like whatever comes my way. The thing that sticks out the most that I keep, like striving for. Everybody needs goals in this business, whether it's, working with a certain director or winning awards or what have
Hmm.
you. I do kind of keep finding that the main thing that I'd strive for, and that really keeps me going in this business, is really just the people that you meet, and the friendships that you create, and the artistic connections that you make with people. That's kind of what I keep hunting for. And I find myself
Hmm.
just thirsting to make things with friends, make things with the people that I've worked with that I want to continue to work with going forward because they're my favorite. There's really nothing better than working with your friends. It's just it makes going to work like such a wonderful, almost religious experience. It's so great.
Mhm.
And so just generally, like yeah, dream projects is just if there was something that came along that was just a massive ensemble feature that was just me and everybody I look up to that I've met in this business and we can all make something together, I just think that would be so amazing.
That's all I have time for today. I want to give Atticus another huge thank you for taking the time to do this with me and for being so nice and so awesome. Be sure to give this video a like if you liked it and feel free to hit the subscribe button to see more videos from me. Have a good rest of your day and I'll see you next time.